gentlemen, we have the distinguished, absolutely phenomenal radio veteran and founder of the National Black Radio Hall of Fame and so much more, the legendary Bernie Hayes. Yes!
My head is swelling, you know that, right?
That's not possible with the very wonderful, fruitful life you are leading right now. Everybody wants to be Bernie Hayes these days.
My goodness, I hope not. I hope they want to be better.
Well, you know what? You have definitely set the bar. I will tell you that. And one reason why I really wanted to connect with you is to let you know how loved you really are.
Well, you felt very kind. Thank you so much, Felicia. Thank you for that.
You know, as you know, I talk to a lot of industry folks who have been in the industry forever. Your name comes up quite frequently. And and the fact that you have founded the National Black Radio Hall of Fame and allowed a platform for many of us who would never be recognized if it were not for your foresight to see, oh my goodness, there's a gap that needs to be filled. And you have done such a wonderful job getting everybody together. So I wanted to say, on behalf of at least those people that I've talked to, thank you so very much for being such a trailblazer.
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you so much. There's so much more to do, but I appreciate all those kind words. Thank you.
Yes. Well, one reason why we're here is to talk about what we need to do, how to get engaged. What is it that what's your vision for the National Black Radio Hall of Fame? We can start there, actually.
Well, my vision is to see a chapter in every major city and every minor city, every super city, every city that they've had black radio, you know, and even some cities that do not have black radio, perhaps they can start one that start black radio chapters. But there's so much we've done, so many years, and that have not been recognized, and we just want to get the word out and show some artifacts of things that we did, and some history of things that we've done, some innovations that we've done. You know, we've been there all the time since 1929 with Jack L. Cooper, but we just haven't received the recognition. Yeah. So that's what I see a vision of connecting all over the country, and even overseas, you have to say.
Well, for those people who are listening, what's your call to action for them?
Well, just to get involved, to contact the National Black Radio Hall of Fame, and if they're in a city that does not have one, form a chapter. It's so easy to do. It's just a matter of creating a 501c3 and becoming a part of us, and we'll be a network.
That is so cool. That is so cool. What is it that made you decide we need something like that? Well, it was the St. Louis Hall of Fame at first, right?
St. Louis Black Radio Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yes. So
there's so many people who, we have a wall in the gallery of so many people who've passed on without recognition. And some of the people that come through St. Louis and Chicago and Detroit, Los Angeles, have done so many things in making radio better for African Americans and for the public in general, that they go unrecognized. You know, a lot of people take credit for things that we've done, and it's time for us to do it. Time for us to be recognized. So many that passed on without any recognition whatsoever.
Yes. Well, I won't have you go through the list, because actually every time I get a chance, I ask people, who are some of the legends that stand out for you? Just so that, I can have a running list. I'm a researcher at heart, and pass it on to you. But you said you have a whole wall full of legends there. I would so love to see that. It's a part of the museum as well, right? At Hairston State University.
Yeah. Like we just lost a few. Al Waples recently passed. Scoop Sanders, Gracie, Lou Times. So many people that you're familiar with by being in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Probably Rodney Jones out of Chicago. Rodney finally moved down to Arkansas. But there's so many. Von Daniels. Just the list goes on and on. Yeah. Butterball. 2 Butterballs.
You know what? Tell us the story about the Butterballs, or the legendary Butterballs. There were several, right? Throughout the country.
Yeah. Well, the 2 that I'm most familiar with is one out of Philadelphia and one out of Detroit. There were 2 Butterballs. One was black and one was white. Actually, the Butterball in Detroit was white. In Philadelphia was white. But you know he was white because of the radio, it wasn't television. But they figure out that, and the Butterball in Detroit was skinny. He wasn't fat at all. The one in
He was skinny.
He was fat. Yeah. We call him Butterball because of the size. Another Butterball was just a nickname. Yeah.
So at that time, though, the station's imaging goals was to get the radio personality to fit an image like a Butterball, or what are some of the other names? Do you remember?
Oh, Jack the Cat.
Jack the Cat. There were several Jack the Cats.
No, just one Jack the Cat.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean.
And there was Pat the Cat from New Orleans. He lived at New Orleans and went to Newark, New Jersey, and so forth. E. Rodney Jones was a mad lad, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, the group the Mad Lads named themselves after Rodney. It was out of Memphis, Stax Records. They named themselves after E. Rodney Jones, who was in Chicago at the time. That came through St. Louis, actually. And so many more. The OJs, Eddie OJ. They named themselves after Eddie OJ. And Eddie was in Cleveland at the time.
That's right. Eddie OJ. I remember him.
Yeah, sure. It's just, so many, so much that we've done that people don't realize. That's why we write books.
Yeah, and
we all write books. I hope you write a book soon.
I will. I will. I've done so much research. I'm like, okay, we've got to do something with this. I will. And thank you for your blessing. I totally will. Your book, though, I want to talk about that for a few moments. The Death of Black Radio.
Right.
Did you wrote that book upon retirement? Well, there's no such thing, so those of you who are listening and watching know, there's no such thing as retirement for this man. He is a professor and he's a television talk show host, and he writes for one of the St. Louis newspapers. So no such thing as retirement. What is it?
St. Louis American.
St. Louis American. See? So there's no such thing as retirement. So, but what I was asking is, did you write the book after your broadcasting years and it was a reflection of, or during?
No, it was while I was still in radio. In fact, it took me about 7 years to write it, and I just kept updating it. We saw black radio in its demise because all the conglomerates were buying up all the stations, and black radio owners were losing stations and so forth, and the white companies were buying them up. And so they didn't care about local events, they didn't care about local politics and anything local. So that was the death of black radio. Most of the disc jockeys at the time, the disc jockeys and announcers, male and female, were interested and a part of the community. And they would give information for the community. But when the conglomerates bought them up, they didn't care about the local communities. All they wanted to do was make money and so forth. And so that was the death of black radio. Black radio died when the Reagans and the others deregulated the media. That was the death of black radio.
So for those people who don't understand what you just said, would you speak to it and explain the meaning a little bit more? The deregulation meant what exactly?
Okay. Michael Powell was the last one, chairman of the FCC, to oversee the deregulation. In 1982, Ronald Reagan came in and deregulated the radio. At one time, if you remember, you couldn't have more than 4 minutes of commercials in an hour, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're overloaded with commercials. You may have 20 minutes of a commercial on a 60-minute program. That was deregulation. That was you couldn't say certain words and certain phrases on the radio. They deregulated that, so now they can curse and use all kind of language on the radio. They can play all sorts of music. They gangster rap, and they got to the really terrible lyrics. That was all part of deregulation. But before that, black radio, we wouldn't even play "Work With Me, Annie" one time in the 50s. But that's like a church song compared to some of these.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what deregulation did. They allowed the conglomerates, all the rich folks, to buy up all the radio, television, and newspapers at one time. At one time, you could own 2 stations in one city. But now you can own 4 stations, 5 stations, 20 stations. You can own
840 stations.
and the TV stations and the newspapers and all print media. And so now they just, they dominate, and they brainwash and so forth. And they're in control.
Yes. iHeart has 800 some odd stations, 820, 840 across the country. Yeah.
And
that speaks volumes.
Each one of those were programmed by someone not in a particular market. They were programmed by someone in Texas or someone in New York or someone in Los Angeles and so forth. So how would you be, say Tom Joyner. Tom was in Dallas. He understood he was broadcasting all over the country. But how would, until they had those local breaks, you wouldn't know what was going on in Chicago. You wouldn't know what was going on in New Orleans, what was going on in Detroit, Shreveport. You didn't know because it was all programmed just to the general audience and not to a specific audience.
Wow, so much history there. There's so much history there.
We need more of that. We need, and when I said the death of black radio, the disc jockeys at one time, like I said, were part of the community. We would tell people where they'd go for they needed help for food, assistance, for utilities and so forth. That was we were caring. Although a lot of us would make jokes and so forth and then be happy, but would still give information to the consumer. And that was the most important thing we did, delivering information. That's the most important thing for survival, information.
Exactly. And personality radio, as we knew it then, we see fading as the years pass.
In fact, when I went to San Francisco in 1964, I couldn't use my name. I had to use the name of Bill Stewart because the station wanted to own the name of the personalities. It wasn't until I left WVOA in Chicago, I went there in 1964. And when I came to St. Louis in 1965, I could use my name again, Bernie Hayes again. But in 1964, when I go to San Francisco, leave it now. Some people remember Bill Stewart. And I was Bill Stewart on the air there.
That's right. They chose the name for you, and you had to fit the personality.
Nice. Yeah, and like Johnny Rabbit here in St. Louis. You know about Johnny Rabbit here in St. Louis. There were 2 Johnny Rabbits, and the station owned the name of Johnny Rabbit. So when the first Johnny Rabbit left, the second Rabbit, Ron Ailes, came in, he became Johnny Rabbit. But most of the people, the audience didn't know, except for this announcing style.
Wow. I read someplace that it was indeed the late 60s where radio personalities were able to use their own names, but they had to lobby for that or
No, at that time, it was in early to mid 60s, even the late 60s. We were using our own names. We could do that. But the music is what changed everything. They had program directors who would select all the music for you. And usually somebody from another city was selecting the music that you had to play. And that's what payola made such a big stink, because the person doing the programming was getting money from different record companies, and they make you play it in your particular market. And that was terrible too. Also part of the death of black radio, because at one time we could choose our own music,
Right. What's your assessment of what you see now on radio, Bernie?
Well, I think, speaking of the African American community, I think it's poor. I think the owners want us to boogie. They want us to have fun. They want us to tell jokes and so forth, but they don't want us to get involved in politics. They don't want us to get involved in local events that might impact their lives. And so this is what I see now. In fact, the disc jockeys themselves, a lot of the disc jockeys, the announcers on the air now, don't really care about the community. They want to get paid. It's going to be popular and do record hops and MC shows and other events of that sort. But they don't care about the community. Very few. I mean, I don't want to brush stroke all of them with the same brush stroke all the time. Say, what I'm trying to say. But I don't want to label them all the same. But there are some that really care. But most of them, the young disc jockeys now don't know about the community, don't care about the community. They just want to play the music and then have fun. Not knowing that someday we're going to know.
You know what? We're definitely seeing that on the political scene with some of the rappers and how they have, not all, but some key ones have decided that they would prefer to get paid and become a face for the community, but not really believe in what it takes for the community to survive and flourish, which is really sad. And I would be really shocked to see if those careers were able to be as prominent as they were before all of this happened. Do you know what I'm speaking of with Trump and Lil Wayne and some of the other rappers who have been pulled into that web?
Sure. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Ice Cube.
Ice, yes. I was like, not Ice. Oh no.
Yeah. But the money is attractive. The money is attractive. The fame is attractive, and power is attractive. So very seldom will they speak truth to power, but they just want to get the money. And there's some nasty words sticking about if you try to bring them down, your level, or try to show them what you consider the right thing to do. But they consider getting paid as the reason they're in the business. And then most of them are in the business only to get paid. They don't care about community. And it's sad to me.
It really is. It hits right at the heart because these are the same people who have, made money off of getting people to buy into their relatability with what's going on in the streets and police brutality and not having enough food, money, clothes, car, whatever.
They have some power. At least if Kanye, Ice Cube, let's say any of them, really, Nelly, the big rappers now, who has an audience, who have personal ear, if they would come out with a product, so suspenders, to tell the young kids to pull your pants up. Come on, with a suspender line,
You could start there.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that you wouldn't see any more sagging. You see them with nice suspenders. When we were growing up, we even wore overalls. They call them jeans, then we call overalls. We keep them pressed, crease in the overalls. We were stylish. We thought that would attract girls. Because we were clean and nice and looking. But I don't know how that deteriorated to. But if some of these people with the clothing lines would just perhaps come out and say suspenders are stylish now, and dressing nice is stylish, keeping your shoes shine is stylish. You'd be surprised at the difference of these young kids who look up to these people, how they would change overnight.
Well,
no sack, but it's suspenders.
They would have to be socially conscious and take that on as a responsibility to make a huge difference like that in the community, in gun violence as well.
Yes, they have. And they're all on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so forth. They would, just one of the main artists would do that. Say St. Deli here in St. Louis. If you would come out with a suspender line and start respecting ladies and dressing in suits or dressing nice, it would follow. The others would follow him and be competitive with his line and form their own line. FUBU would come out with a nice suspender line. The boy down in Atlanta, he'd come out with a nice suspender line. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's social consciousness, though. And the thing is that they want to separate themselves from making money and then being responsible. You're an artist. You know this stuff. You're an artist. I played some of your records.
Really? Yeah, I was on stacks there for a while. But if they would concentrate on not denigrating ladies and not denigrating the community, and that they would get that consciousness that it would be reborn into them if they knew their history, if they knew what so many people have to provide a way for them to become famous and make money now, they would someone would take note. You know, like there are some very educated rappers out there. There's some very educated people in the music business.
There is.
A lot of they took social consciousness. You know, there's in the NWA, but things of that sort. But if others would, if Snoop Dogg would come out with a nice suit line, shoe shine, double-breasted suits, nice handkerchiefs, suspenders, his pants up, and started calling ladies. Oh, I think that attitude of young people would change because they'd be known. It would spread. It'd be bad.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how fast hip hop spread. You know, I thought it was a subculture.
It's a phase. Yeah. Everybody thought it was just a phase.
It now has its own culture. You know, it has its own subculture.
It does.
Same thing happened with the fashions. Yeah.
Absolutely. It totally does. Wow. Well, I don't know what it's going to take for us to be more in the mind of we are our brother's keeper. You know, we are a product of our community, and it cannot get any better unless we all participate. And I know that there was a lot of pushback with artists and the entertainment industry, period, and saying, oh, well, I don't want to be the big brother, big sister. I don't want to be responsible for that. It is a huge undertaking, and it's not fair to say just one person. However, when you have the power and the money to make a difference, make a change, just like you demonstrated, just like you explained, I think that's important for people to do.
And everyone could join a gang. There are good gangs as well as there are bad gangs. There's a good gang in CORE. There's a good gang in NAACP. There's a good gang in these ladies' movements, the different women's movements.
Yeah.
These are good gangs.
Yeah.
And good gangs are for positive change. And they can happen. Black Lives Matter, Expect Us, all these different other groups under the umbrella of Black Lives Matter. And they're good gangs.
Right.
So, they've been hijacked. So,
it's been hijacked.
Yeah. But, all in all, they're a good gang. And if someone follows good gangs, they can make a change too. They can do it. Like what happened in Atlanta. That's
hello. Flip from red to blue. Is that what you mean?
And it's still a challenge now with these 2 Senate races. And if they join some good gangs and coming out and vote, get registered, and see what this election can do for them. Everybody wants what's going to do for me. They can find out what it can do for them. I think we may even have a chance at changing the Senate. Yeah. What
do you foresee in our future? Now, you've lived through many disruptions in our world. Did I read somewhere that you're also in the armed services?
I'm in the Air Force, yeah.
Air Force. See, I did read that somewhere.
Yeah,
so you've seen a lot. Where do you think we're headed now?
We survived the Middle Passage. We'll be all right. We're going to be okay. The headlines always focus in the African American community on the negatives, But there's so many positive things going on out there that they don't focus on. And that's what we got to find. We got to challenge what the media is portraying us as. There's so many wonderful, wonderful organizations that are doing positive things for the community. Like here, Cori Bush, she just defeated Congressman Clay. She's the first African-American woman from the district St. Louis, congresswoman from St. Louis, Missouri, from Missouri, first black woman from Missouri.
Wow.
Victoria was out there in Ferguson. She was leading the march, the Black Lives Matter march in Ferguson. She was participating in the different other demonstrations. I don't know if that's a good word, demonstrations.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she was active. Civil disobedience was a way of her to become noticed, but she was serious. She wasn't doing it for the notoriety. She was doing it because she wanted to make change, and she did. And Congressman Clay was quite surprised at the change that she took a seat. But Corey she was determined to do this, and she did it. So many other women did too. Kim Gardner, so many people here, so many women, Tashara Jones. They're on the move, and these are people who are leading good gangs.
Right, exactly, and the good gang, like Congressman Lewis said, making good trouble.
Yeah, that's right, precisely.
Making good trouble. Yeah.
So many people. So when you say what is the survival? What's the key to our survival? We already have it in our DNA. We survive.
You know what? you got that right.
Yeah. We'll
We've survived a lot. We have survived a lot.
We'll survive coronavirus too. If we keep our buddies and little sisters and brothers not the party, thinking party is the way to go. Realize that virus is serious. It's a killer. And I see them out there in the park, and I go home. I 2 or 3 parks. They'd be congregated, they'd be drinking beer, drinking wine, having fun, smoking cigarettes. No masks. Now that element, like Miles said, they'll die out.
Yes. It has been a wake-up call, I think, for a lot of people, and a reminder of a reset, basically, a personal reset, a country reset, and a world reset. What is it that we really value?
Us as a people?
Yeah.
That question? I think life is the most important thing. Without life, not much you can do. You got to stay alive. You got to choose life choices and styles that's going to keep you alive. It's nice to have parties, like to be fun. We all like to have great times. But we've got to make some choices that just let keep us healthy and alive. And in a leadership position, that can help others and show them the right ways to do things. Everybody's talking about gathering for Thanksgiving now. Everyone wants to be with their families at Thanksgiving. But if it's dangerous and it's life-threatening, you should think twice before you make any choices.
Yeah.
I just spoke to a lady a few minutes ago. Her son, she's going to Memphis. He's going to Memphis to visit his mom and bringing all the children. And she's scared to death of them bringing all this.
Absolutely, because you don't know. It's not like you can see it on somebody's forehead,
You love them. You love them very much, I'm on the call. Love them very much, but sometimes it's better to wait. So it's a few weeks or months or a year before you see them safe.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Now you do, we flipped the script with you with your television show. You're not, you're used to being the host. So, and you cover a lot of community topics as well, right? On the Bernie Hayes show in St. Louis.
I had Corey Bush on, and last week, this is Marla Rogers coming on next week. I had Purvis Jones on from the controller for the city of St. Louis. Next week, I'm going to have a young man on who's artistic, but he's a songwriter.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so I follow all topics. No, I'm not limited to any particular range.
That's the fun part of having your show, right?
I see. Now I have preachers on. I have everybody, anyone who's doing something, or I think is doing something, and book authors, a lot of authors, because there's so many books out there. So many people writing books that people don't know about. I try to give that exposure. Like when your book come out, I'm going to have you on my show.
That sounds great. That sounds wonderful. I am looking forward to that. I did see you had EDB on. EDB, I remember listening to her in high school at Sumner High. That's where I went to high school, and I wanted to be EDB. I wanted to mimic her, and it wasn't until I got into college and at the college radio station in at Lindenwood that I realized, okay, maybe I will do radio. And then I started listening even closer. EDB and Cheryl Winston.
Yeah. Yeah. Cheryl went on to the music business. I hired Cheryl as an announcer. She was a salesperson, but she had such a beautiful voice, and I heard her speaking one time, and I said, Cheryl, I'm going to come on, be a jock for us. And she did, and she went on, went on to great heights. You
did that.
I discovered Cheryl. Yeah.
It's so wonderful. I didn't know that.
She's in the music business now. She's the promotion person.
Yes. But Edie has a book. Is it about Marvin Gaye? Is that what
Marvin Gaye, yeah. It's a play. It's a book and a play. The book is a companion piece to the play. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get her on and talk about that a little bit more. I didn't realize that.
So interesting. Yes.
That is so neat. Now you meant. I'm sorry. Say it again.
It took about 2 years to do that project.
Oh yeah.
It took 2 years, and then it finally came to fruition, and it's beautiful. Really, really great. The play is great. The book is good. It's all wonderful. Yeah.
Well, when you write, you pour your whole heart and soul into it. It's you eat, breathe it until it's done. So it's a huge undertaking to become an author.
I'm looking forward to yours.
All right, you know what? If that's supposed to be subliminal, it sure is seeping in.
Third time, I've been to it. You can do it. Just 3 minutes a day, a paragraph a day, a paragraph a week, paragraph a month.
I love it.
Three lines a day when it comes to you. Just write it down.
I love it. Well, I tell you what, Bernie, since I've been with you, I have done so much research, and even with the interviews, there's so much information. There's definitely a book in there. I just hadn't stopped. But now you're gonna be the little guy on my shoulder. You can get ready to do the book.
Try to get Maurice Meredith and so many other people to do books, because so many people have books in them. Doug Easton. Doug will not write a book. Doug's a disc jockey, for people don't know. We came together in 1965. KTZ was the general manager a little bit later. And Doug has so much knowledge, but he won't write the book. But yet and still, when some people call me up and ask me about things that happen in St. Louis radio, and Frank Absher perhaps, or someone who says, who was when? I'd call Doug, and he'd come up with an answer like that. I said, Doug, write it down. No. I said, Doug, write it down. There's too much going to be lost, if he leaves us without our knowledge.
Well, you know what? Maybe I just need to sit down and interview him for a little bit and capture that knowledge so that it is not lost. Because, that's one reason why I really wanted to talk to you, because people take advantage they just take advantage of opportunities and take advantage that people are going to be here. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. I don't know. But I love having an opportunity to let people know how much they're loved. And I just really, if I had the money, I would, can't do any traveling these days, but I'd send you on a wonderful trip, vacation, and just, just shower you with so much love, because you have done so much for the community. People don't know. They know now, but people don't really know how much you have done and how much you've contributed, just like Doug Easton to radio. And I really think it's my job, and those who are listening that want to do this work as well, to make sure that the history stays alive and the culture is documented and celebrated.
Let me give you your kudos too, because you've done so much to help the National Black Radio Hall of Fame and Women in Radio and so forth. You're relentless, and the research that you've done and the knowledge that you have of writing grants, of researching different organizations and people and things, so forth. You're amazing to me, and you're one of a kind. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you've done for me, for the Black Radio Hall of Fame, for the National Black Radio Hall of Fame, and for all the other organizations you've helped, and all the people that you've helped, because a lot of folks don't know that either, and they should.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That is so incredibly sweet. Now let me stop. You got me blushing. Let me ask. Thank you, Bernie. I so appreciate that. So let me ask you this. Who else did you discover in your career? Yeah.
Well, I had Michael Jackson here when he was 6 years old. They ran out of gas, had to go buy them gas.
Oh, yeah.
Boogaloo, have you heard the term Boogaloo? Well, Jerry Murray, Jerry-O.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah, you heard the term Boogaloo. Well,
Okay.
he came out with a record called Boogaloo back in 1964. And Tom and Jerry-O was called Boogaloo. And then they had Karate Boogaloo and so forth. He was a dear friend of mine. I felt like I kind of discovered him because I was first on to play his records. And there's so many artists. There were so many. We were the first ones to start playing, and I take credit for this. 12-minute records, 8 to 12-minute records.
Yes.
Yeah, and have you seen her? By the highlights, Marshall will tell you that we broke that record right here. I used to call Marshall and tell him, man, you got a song here. Have you seen her? And I called Marshall and Carl Davis and Squirrel and told them, man, this is a big, big record, and it's 12 minutes long. They couldn't believe it. So when they came to St. Louis, Eugene Record, they were doing the show at Kiel. And they were about to end the show, and they started running off the show. And the people started hollering, have you seen her? Have you seen her? Have you seen her? And they didn't know the song. But they came back and did something, satisfy the people. Continue to sing the chorus. Have you seen her? Have you seen her? Have you seen her?
Yeah.
So some of the things we did. Yeah, good things.
Man, I know that there's so much more. It's really hard to get all of this information in 1 hour.
I get so much too. I wasn't thinking about what we've done and how many people we've discovered and stuff. But there are quite a few. Black radio has been a tremendous asset to the world, actually.
Yeah, breaking records, discovering jocks, social consciousness, because you definitely did that a lot in the 60s, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I have Dr. King on my show. And other people, that's just SCLC when they were really demonstrations in the 60s and 70s. And they would forecast the live program, but we would tell the people, like in the Bay Area, Dr. King is going to be in Montgomery this weekend and so forth, and he'd be in Birmingham, or it's like to be in Biloxi, Mississippi this week. We announced where he'd be, and all the gatherings would follow, And so many people, Jesse Jackson, when Jesse was running for president, he was a regular on my program, and others such as that. We used to just have people on that people were interested in hearing.
Wow.
Taking on information. Information is the key. Information. We need information to make it.
Correct information. Have you noticed how confused we are listening to the news? It's like we don't know where the truth is. It's just all over the place. And it used to be information was true information, to help inform the public. Now it's like, let's see how we can confuse everybody.
Deregulation. Before Reagan deregulated everything, there would be no Fox News. There'd be no misinformation news channels, such as Fox News and AOC and all them others. They would have to tell the truth, because people thought if you read it in a newspaper or heard it on television or saw it or heard it on the radio, it was truth.
Right.
You don't have to worry about what this true fake news and so forth as your president label. But at that one time, before the deregulation, everything was pure. Everything was real. If you heard it on the radio, it had to be true.
Right.
If you saw it in the newspaper, they wouldn't dare put it live newspaper. But deregulation let them do what they wanted to do. They own it, so they can do it. I mean, Fox News right now has really created a turmoil in this country, this whole universe, actually. They got people hating black people again. They got people not challenging you to vote. They trying to throw your votes out and not count your votes, not let you vote.
I am appalled. I'm just speechless that this can go on in 2020. Maybe in the 60s,
You only hear one side of the story. Two sides, sometimes 3 and 4 sides to a story. But they only hear one side, and it's a negative side. They don't like it such. But they won't listen to MSNBC or CNN or the other independent channels, and it's terrible. And I'll say it on your program, I think Fox News is the worst thing that ever came around. It's information.
Yeah.
It's disinformation and misinformation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carter G. Woodson said miseducation of the Negro, and we're still being miseducated. Yeah.
Which they always seem to find one to represent us, right? They always seem to find one who I'm like, who is that person? Where y'all get them from? They've got to be actors. They've got to be. Oh my goodness. What can we do though as a Black community, and what can we do to preserve our culture? I know we need to own more radio stations, but with deregulation, like you said, unless that's overturned in some way.
Write books.
Write books.
Write the books. You got to hold meetings and show the truth. You got to find out the true heroes of the community, heroes, heroines of the community, and follow them, because usually they have the right attitude and the right words to say. They're doing on the right path. The Urban League and the AACP, different organizations such as this, if you research them and you believe what they're doing, join one. Join that organization. If you can't find one that you believe in, start your own. You can do that. It's easy to do. Get 2 or 3 people who think like you, start a movement.
Yeah. It has happened over and over again, hasn't it?
Certainly.
How long have you been doing your television show?
Well, this current TV show, I've been doing it for about 15 years. 15. That's the current show. Yeah. But before that, I've been doing television 45, 50 years in different channels. Yeah. I was a weatherman at Channel 2 at once.
You were?
Yeah, it was ABC then. Yeah, it was ABC channel. Yeah, that was in 72. 1972.
I didn't know that. Oh wow!
Yeah. I was a weatherman in KTVI Channel 2 in St. Louis. I was ABC affiliate. Yeah.
Okay. Now
I did a CBS. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just trying to get the timeline in my head. Was this before or after the dance TV show or entertainment TV show?
Let's do it at the same time. That was 1972, 1971, 72, 73. We had the Soul Brotherhood in 72, 73, and 74. That was on television. The dance show we had, like Soul Train.
Yeah. That's what I was getting to. Because I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Soul Train. So that was around the same time, right?
Very same time, yeah.
Yeah.
Don Canice and I worked together at WDON in Chicago, before Don became a Soul Train owner. But, we did the same things together. And I went to San Francisco, and he went on to do television as a newsman at Channel 32 in Chicago. And then he formed Soul Train. Yeah. But at one time, I was an artist on Soul Train at one time.
I wish I could get video on that one.
They have it. It was still black and white before you went to color.
Yeah.
It's still. I have some pictures of it. Tyrone Davis and I were on the same label. Tyrone the Wonder Boy, he was called. And then on the Soul Train program that we figured on was Tyrone Davis, Impressions, Shalax, B.B. King, and the Staple Singers, and Bernie Hayes.
Cute.
Same TV show. Yeah. Soul Train. Yeah.
That is so phenomenal. Oh my gosh, you are a legend indeed. You are.
I wish.
Now tell me this, how does your family adopt to all of this greatness? It's just like, oh, that's dad, that's just granddad.
I'm Bernie, that's it. I'm just Bernie. Nothing special. Nothing special to me.
Why do kids do that to you? You know, it's like, up to all this great stuff, and it's like,
That's Bernie is. Most of them call me Bernie anyway. They don't call me granddad or anything. Hey, Bernie. Yeah.
Love it. How many grandchildren do you have?
Oh, grandchildren. About 14, 15.
Do you? Oh, that's rich.
Oh, grandchildren. I'm thinking great-grandchildren. Grandchildren, I have 8 grandchildren.
8 and then 14 great-grands. That is rich. That's wonderful. Oh, wow. Okay, before I let you go, I have to talk about your beautiful wife, Yuvie Hayes, who is also an artist. And
a psychologist.
No, she is not. You guys are full of surprises. She's a psychologist too?
She's a psychologist for the St. Louis Public Schools, yeah.
Fabulous.
But
wow.
She's a pretty well-known recording artist now. She's been recording for 35 years. Has about 17, 18 CDs and albums out. But oftentimes, it's the regional hits, 1 or 2 national hits. Maintenance Man is pretty well known, and her latest is Basement Fund. But she's had so many hits. I recorded with so many different people. Tom Washington and James McKay are her local producers. James McKay, who's a band leader, the band director of Temptations, and Tom Washington is the producer in Chicago. Tom is the one who did Shalites, Gene Chandler, Jerry Butler. The list is ongoing with Tom Washington. He's a legend in his own right. He's a lifetime. But those are our producers. They come up with hits for her all the time.
Wow. I bet you guys had celebrities in and out of your homes for decades.
Oh, yeah. Always, yeah. Impressions, Temptations, you name them. You just name them. Anybody you name. Bobby Womack. Bobby was a dear friend. Stevie. Stevie's on a couple of my shepherds. Stevie, the Dells, Emotions, Background. We all interact.
Wow. How about James Brown?
Yeah.
You too?
Oh, yeah. Well, James, sure. Yeah.
Just threw one out there. I didn't know.
I met James in 1956 when his first record, Please, Please, Please. We hooked up together in the Hotel Teresa in New York. And I told James, I said, James, do you know there are about 15 different James Browns going around singing Please, Please, Please? And he didn't know, but no one had ever seen James in person, but they could all sound just like James Brown. There were about 15 of them out there. I told him, man, they got 15 James Browns out there.
Oh my gosh.
So he started doing some investigations and finally got himself better known. Yeah.
Right, doing more appearances, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. One more. How did you and Yuvie meet?
Oh, Doug Easton.
Love a good love story.
Right? Yeah, she's always been a singer. She's a graduate of Mississippi Valley State University. And she got an undergraduate at Mississippi Valley State. And then she got a graduate degree at Mississippi State. And then she moved to St. Louis, and she wanted to do some recording because she had been appearing in a band in Mississippi. And so she went to Doug Easton over at KTZ, asked if he would produce her, and he says, I'm not really a record producer, but there is a guy in St. Louis who does it. And he said it to me, and boom, on the website.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. That's a book right there. I'm just saying. That's a nice love story. I love that. Do you know?
Luther Ingram,
Say it again.
and Luther Ingram, came to me when I first came to St. Louis. When I first came to St. Louis, he says, Bernie, there's no record stores in Alton, Illinois. Luther Ingram, if love you is wrong, I don't want to be right. And I says, well, let me go up there and see. And I went up there in Alton, Illinois. There was no record store there. So I started the first record store in Alton, Illinois. Started the first black record distributorship here also. Westcott Distributors.
So the first black record store.
Record store in Alton, Illinois. The first record distributorship, first black distributorship was here in St. Louis, Missouri. That was Westcott Distributors. That was Ted Hudson and I. We started that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what? You are a documentary.
That's another word for saying old, right?
You are a documentary. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I know you're at work and you have other things to do. You've got some stuff on your wall there. What is that behind you?
Oh, in the back of me?
Yeah.
So those are some of the jazz greats. Coleman Hawkins, Gene Cooper, Bobby Carmichael, Earl Garner, Duke Ellington, John Coltrane, Godfather Hines, Billy Goodman, Charlie Parker, Clark Terry, Art Tatum. These are some of the people that are in the Jazz Hall of Fame here at the Wolf Jazz Institute. And what I'm doing, Felicia, and hopefully in the spring, March, April, whenever this weather permits, I'm going to pay tribute to musicians who made an impact who graduated from HBCUs or went to HBCUs, such as Nancy Wilson and Donnie Hathaway went to Howard. Nancy Wilson went to school in Texas. Different people such as that. Billy Eckstein, we want to honor them for going to historically black colleges and universities. So we'll induct them into another Hall of Fame. Yeah.
That is going to be phenomenal. Whenever it happens, I will be there. I will be there.
I'll keep you up to date.
So is this going to be like a ceremony or is it going to be like a series? Or are you still in planning stages?
It's going to be like one ceremony. We'll induct all of perhaps 20 or 30 of them at one time, just a brief bio of each. Nancy Wilson, born 77 bucks, Capitol record artist, like that. But they'll be inducted into the Wolf Jazz Hall of Fame.
That is so phenomenal. Where you're the director, by the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why I said there's no retirement in your DNA. So you're the director of St. Louis Jazz and Blues Museum?
It's the Wolf Jazz Institute and Gallery. And also we're connected also next door to the same building, the National Black Radio Hall of Fame. I'm also the executive director of the National Blues Museum.
And you have time to talk to me. I am just so honored.
I'm honored to talk to you, Felicia. You kidding me? It's my honor.
Oh, this is great. This is great. Well, thank you. Guys, that's the reason why we call him the Godfather of radio. I'm just saying, it's just mind-blowing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I look forward to continuing working with you however you want it. I'm there for you.
I appreciate it. I'll be looking for the book.
Okay.
Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, too. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.